Well, hello, and welcome again to my home, my space here in Eugene, Oregon. When I speak to you today, I'm going to speak to you as best I possibly can from my heart to really reach out and through the space here to allow this to be a heartful experience for you as well as for me. That's the calling really for so many of us in this world today, is to really truly live with great heart. That's the path that I'm following now. This is a path I've been following for some time. And I've stumbled and I've fallen and I've meandered and I've detoured. And I found myself lost at times as I proceeded along this path. But ultimately the path remains. At least the path in my life and the path that I'm finding that is the path that so many others are on in this day. And that's the path in which we're truly coming to understand the purpose for being here. What is truly the most authentic way that we can show up and express the life that we've been given? And at the core of that is an expression I use, which is about being heartful. So many of us have heard, and it's a buzzword, it's been around for 30 or more years, which is about being mindful. And that has its place. And I want to add to this conversation. I want to add to this dialogue of what it means to truly come into being authentically who we are and to truly connect with our core, our marrow, our essence. I want to bring the heart into this. Not only is there scientific revelations that are coming forward about the gifts and the powers of the heart, that really are ancient teachings that science is validating, but this is something that has, I think that has really been something that so many of us have been seeking to discover, whether we were consciously aware of it or not, in a world that seems divided, in a world that seems confused, in a world that in so many ways is disturbing. And I'm speaking to you here in March of 2018. That the missing piece that we're in search of here is this connection to the heart, truly being able to be heartful, because what is disturbing us in the world today and in our lives and in our inner being, what is this that's so unsettling? It's the fact that we are disconnected. We feel disconnected from this essential human design, which is the experience of the fullness of the heart, or being heartful. In other words, what is it to live our lives full of heart, to bring great heart to the world? It's a fabulous question, one that so many of us are seeking and are on a path to discover the answers. And I'm here to support and encourage and empower that in you. It was long ago that I had a dream. And I had a dream that truly changed my life. And in that dream, I'm walking down a straight and narrow path. It's so narrow that it's very challenging to stay on the path. I have to put one foot in front of the other, making sure that I don't stray from the path. That was my entire focus. So in order for that to happen, I have to be looking down. And that's what was happening in the dream. Eventually, as I continue to make sure that I'm staying on that straight and narrow path, I begin to notice something in my peripheral vision to my right. But I don't allow it to distract me from what is what I'm here to do, which is to stay on this straight and narrow path. So I keep going forward in the dream. But eventually, that straight and narrow path comes to an end. And that which was in my peripheral vision off to my right now comes into full view right in front of me. The narrow path that I've been on and that which is in my peripheral vision, and now I've joined. And they're right in my midst, right directly in front of you. You can only imagine, because this is you might say, an archetypal dream. It's really a dream that we all could be having. It's a dream that so many of us have heard about, expressed in many different ways. And that is what was right in front of me, but the edge of a cliff. And so when I looked over the edge, I just peered over, and I had a fear of heights, extreme fear of heights at the time, and I still have somewhat of a fear of heights. I looked over, and it literally was a bottomless abyss. I could not see the bottom. In fact, the bottom, what you might consider where the bottom might be, was shrouded in clouds. So there was that sense of it's just bottomless. If I were to go over the edge here, I would certainly fall to my death. So there was a voice immediately that responded and reacted from that emotional part of the brain, from that reptilian brain, and said, get back. Get back. You could easily slip and fall over the edge to your death. Get back. And right away, right immediately behind that was another voice that very calmly and collected said, jump. Jump. And of course, the other voice immediately is responded and reacted. And it was like, are you out of your mind? Are you crazy? No, I'm not going to jump, because I would certainly fall to my death. And so this dialogue actually is going on, this banter between these two voices. Does this sound familiar to you in your life? Does it? Where you have these voices that are happening, you have that voice inside your head that's often judgmental, fearful, scared, trying to pick things apart, trying to figure things out, trying to make sense of everything. And then you have that other voice that's more deeply resonant, sometimes a more difficult to access, which is just say, stay the course. All is well. You're safe. You're protected. You're loved. You're well. And those two voices are wrestling all the time. Well, this is what was happening in the dream. And eventually then what happened was I became aware in that moment, sort of that third voice. And it said, I've been looking down this whole time. I have not looked up a single time in this experience. Look up. This voice inside me said, just look up. So I began to raise my head, and I looked up and I looked out. And all of a sudden I captured this vision of what was out here in front of me. Not what was down there, but what was out in front of me, which is this vast open space, as far as I could see. It was just vast open blue sky. It was so appealing. It was so mesmerizing. It was so overwhelmingly beautiful. And in that moment, all I could conjure up in my awareness was, oh my God, I want more of this. And my next instinct just took over, and I just took one giant step forward. Not even aware or even attending to what I had perceived was this bottomless abyss that's right here at hand. The next thing I know, once I took that large step over the edge, was I was descending. I wasn't falling like one would imagine if you just leapt over a cliff without a parachute. I was falling, but falling very slowly. And in this most beautiful, graceful way. And I could look over there and see sights over there, and I could look over here and see sights over in that direction. And eventually I saw something sort of directly in front of me, down below. Looked like a good landing place. And when I looked, I went straight toward it. Like I had complete command of where I went and the direction I would take and the speed with which I was going. And the next thing I know, I'm landing, and I just softly find that both feet are on the ground, and it was effortless. I look around me, and I do a 360-degree turn, and I see that in all directions are there just these open green fields as far as the eye could see. And I realized not only was I ecstatic because of the experience I had just had, gone from terror to ecstasy in this very short period of time in this dream. And I realized I can go in any direction. This moment is revealed to me, I can go in any direction. Rather than life being this straight and narrow path that's so controlled and constricted by fear. Now, see this as a metaphor for your own life. That was the end of the dream, and I woke up. The movement from fear and constriction to expansion to truly an ecstatic experience of being here with choices that have no limits. Now, sure, that is an archetypal dream. That in us that is can conceive of and connect with all that is and all the potential possibilities of this experience. And then there's that is just swiftly contracted it into these very narrow, small fields of possibility. And who am I in all this? Now, that happened at a time when I was very fearful of making a very significant life choice that was going to completely change my life and the trajectory that my life was on. And I just couldn't imagine being able to do that which this choice was inviting me toward, which was to be a minister. Number one, because I was terrified of public speaking, absolutely terrified. Enough said about that. Because this is about really coming to the place of awareness inside ourselves, of really truly connecting with the heart of who and what we are. When we are truly heartful, when we are connected in such a way as to where we are living with great heart, and what we're finding is the mind and the gifts of the mind, this beautiful mind that we have, is now joining in a coherent, dynamic relationship with the heart. And they're creating this life together now. No longer working where they're in separation, where the heart is overwhelmed by the kind of the emotional impact of life because it's, I'm so heartful, I'm so in the heart all the time, or I'm not just stuck in the mind and trying to manage everything of my life with my mind and the neurotic way in which that creates our everyday life. No, we're combining the gifts of the two into one. But it begins with recognizing that the heart has gifts and powers that can truly facilitate this much more coherent, sane, creative, loving, compassionate experience. And this extends out not just to each of us as individual beings, but to our communities, our families, our children, our grandchildren, our world. That is, in many regards, struggling with this disconnection and way in which we are armored against opening to the powers of the heart in concert with the gifts of the mind. We're locked up inside our fearful states, and it's taking a toll on us, right? So I send out this heartful message to you today with love from my heart to yours, and inviting you to come and join with us in our community, the Heart-Powered Path. The Heart-Powered Path. It is a community, it is a teaching, it is a way of life that by design is truly about calling into expression who we've truly come here to be. Why have you taken birth? What is your primary reason for being here? And to fulfill it in ways that you have yet to express and experience. And to be able to then bring this awareness and the practices that facilitate it, because we've been conditioned very well about how to use our cognitive abilities, but we have not been educated and taught how to use the gifts of the heart. So, this is our time to bring this forward to the larger community, the larger world. And just for you as an individual, the opportunities that it presents to you. Who would you be if your life were lived from this coherent heart and mind connected space? I leave you with that question today. From my heart to yours, namaste.